Hello, good morning. Hey, Ragnar.
Hey, hello, Christian. Good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. I'm excited. Our second episode. So
Absolutely, yep.
it's only up from here, right? Well, not the first show was. I'm not going to. David and Joanne were awesome guests, but we're excited to continue this.
Exactly. It's always the hardest, especially when we talk about podcasts. You know, people are super excited to start something new, and usually after the second episode, it stops. So here we need to make sure
consistency. That's right,
and many others.
That's right. Well, TekkiGurus webcast series once again presents Guardians of M365 Governance. You can find us on Twitter at GoM365Gov as well, the hashtag. It's a monthly webcast focused on the rapidly evolving and expanding Microsoft 365 governance story. So our goal here is to share insights, best practices, and the latest information about new governance features and capabilities within Microsoft 365. So this live stream is dedicated to everything governance within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So if you have questions or comments or thoughts about what we should cover or guests that we should have on the show, please comment. We want this to be interactive. And so Ragnar running the platform here will be sharing comments and questions, and we'll be taking things in real time. For this second official episode, Ragnar and I welcome M365 and Azure MVP and Microsoft Regional Director, Raphael Koellner. So he'll be joining us. Hello.
Hello
Raphael,
together.
Welcome.
It's great
Thank
to
you very
have
much
you.
for your invitation. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, thank you very much for your invitation.
Well, we're discussing today the best practices for Copilot governance. Lots of questions about Copilot governance and specifically the capabilities around Microsoft Purview. So I know we're hearing a lot of questions. And Ragnar, you've done a couple webinars as well, and you've written some content around governance on Copilot. What are some of the questions that people are asking?
So one of the biggest questions what I usually get around Copilot is, you know, should we start rolling out Copilot immediately, just enable it, give license to everybody, or should we care about security and compliance? So how can we trust Copilot? Is it something we can just do deploy and pray, or do we need some preparations to get everybody ready? So that's one of the biggest questions. We get a lot of content from great people like Michael Gret, who is a wonderful MVP. He produces now a podcast and videos around Mic on AI. So he's evangelizing heavily on the prompt side, on the value side, where the end user get maximum value out of it. So wonderful. Thanks for joining us here, Michael. But here, what my partners and my customers are asking is all about the security, because especially when you have a long history in search. I'm coming from the fast search side. I went to Microsoft, so I know all the search challenges, this enterprise search, Semantic X index challenges, and I've also very deeply into Delve. And Raphael also did a lot of Delve consulting with his customers around compliance. And we
hear a lot of Delve
questions now with Copilot.
Yeah, a lot of Delve comparisons.
Exactly.
And in fact, last week, and somebody was kind of half joking, but it's like, how do we know when we can, how can we turn it off if we need to, going back to the Delve days. But it's funny, you bring up search, and I make this comparison all the time, that a lot of the Copilot capabilities, similar to as search got more, not important, but as it got more, the fundamentals started working properly within SharePoint, back with the fast search integration and the expansion of the search capabilities. And then with Delve, where it was this, kind of, this advanced view in, show me what it is that I'm doing, that I'm sharing. People complained that, hey, these tools are surfacing data that it shouldn't be surfacing. Mm-hmm. And so they said, well, there's something wrong with the technology. Delve is broken. It's either not working, not showing me anything, or it's showing me too much. And in both cases, it was because the lack of governance, the lack of data management around the solution was either not surfacing any data, or surfacing too much and things, because it was showing weaknesses in that governance strategy.
Yeah, That's what it's all about. So same questions, same challenges, just different answers.
And very interesting also for working councils, data privacy officers, information security officers. All of them, they're using Delve, and at the first they are very afraid that something of the information comes to the surface or comes to the from the underground to the light, and everyone can see this. And it was very funny. I wrote one of the first data protection information of the Delve signals because now you only see what you have a right for. So often you are in a Teams or in a group in a shared mailbox and you see the information. And this is very interesting. That's the same like Copilot.
Exactly.
We have the same behavior and the same thing that the people are afraid that Copilot brings something to the surface they don't want. For example, the monthly payment, Ragnar, of you, for example. Can I ask? Give me the answer of the payment of Ragnar. Okay, if I'm a part of the HR department and take care of you as an employee, maybe yes. If I'm the guy from the zoo, from the Cologne Zoo, in your company and take care about the zoo and the cooperation with the zoo, I don't see
What's
the
the name?
information.
Hennes. Hennes is the
Hennes,
name
correct.
of
This is from the Chinese Life Festival in Cologne. So yes, this is Hennes, and so I see the information about Hennes, but I don't see your payment. So the governance and the data strategy and data governance is more and more important. So for me, and that's very happy that we are here three together, governance and data governance is on the top. So I'm so happy that Copilot comes not in the part that Copilot helps me to work. No, Copilot helps us to talk about data governance. Or
Exactly. Everybody's happy that we can now also sell information protection topics and sell more regarding the Purview suite. Before we go deeper into the innovations of Purview, let's stay like 5 minutes in what we could learn from these old days, the Delve and fast search days. What are the best practices? We are preaching since 10 years or maybe longer. What can we learn for Copilot from these old days before we jump into the new things?
Yeah, I say older too, but just because, when I got into information management systems in the late 90s, a lot of the principles of trying to build out intranets when I got started within this space, it's what led me towards Microsoft platforms and SharePoint back in 2005, where for a few years was advising customers on metadata management, information governance, how they structured their data warehouses and access to their live information versus archived data that need to be secured. So all of those principles remain true. It's talking with other experts, and we're going to have in the next couple months we'll have on Sue Hanley will be a guest, and Erica Tully from Microsoft is also going to be a guest. So we're going to be going deeper into some of these areas. But it's the principles. It's the same things we've been talking about. Certainly, since I got into the Microsoft ecosystem and started presenting on the topic back in 2005, these are the same topics. It's the same issues.
Yeah.
It's the same
Hashtag,
stuff.
I told you so.
Right. I need to start including that hashtag. That's right.
Yeah.
Hashtag homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Definitely. And most of these, what we see with new technology is something we had to do years before. So the same data classification. 10 years before, I said, classify your data. Why? The IT is do this. No, you don't classify.
Which kind of classification is now more important? Is it more everything around the typical labeling, like Purview labels, sensitivity and retention labels, or is it more on the metadata level and then working with the metadata level? What is what are the most things around classification?
The first step, Purview information protection. Purview information protection for the exact labeling, exact access rights to the data. That's the first step. But the second step, and I like Joanna's blog post too and everything, is deleting. Because when you delete the data, it's not shown in Delph, for example. That's the principle from Delph. It's not shown in Delph. And if we will lose Delph in the next months, we will find it also in the general site of portal.office.com. And it's always the same story. Delete your data you don't need. And for me, the first week in a year is my deletion week. It's the same like Shredder. It's my deletion week. Delete data. And it's in Germany. Frühjahrsputz. It's you start with a day. You throw away your old clothes, throw away your data. It's every year the same. It's my deletion week. This is very, very important. I'm delete, for example, our community data when we collect data, for example, for conference registration or whatever. I delete everything in this week. Also the data, and for the most people, and I said no delete because of data privacy or compliance. And most people say, data privacy compliance we don't need. But delete to earn money. So when you delete your data, you don't have to pay so much for your SharePoint environment. And we all know with Microsoft Teams, we have more and more data in our SharePoint libraries. More and more data. And I don't know, Christian, you said how much percent we rise up? 20%, 30% per month. We have more and more data we don't need. And the interesting thing is in Delph or in Copilot or in our new start site of Office 365, we all find these data, and there are a lot of old data we don't need, and mostly we don't need access to this. So very interesting.
It is the
same story.
It's interesting how you saw like the growth like early on. I mean, when we would do data purges back in the, again, thank you, Eric, for bringing that up. It was when it was new in the 90s. We used to do data purges because the cost of that storage was, and the slowdown, the performance of the platform was so slow. This was back in the on-prem days. And then we had this explosion movement towards the cloud, and storage became cheap. However, there's cheap dumb storage versus the cost of inside your actual SharePoint environment and the cost of having that data. So we're getting back to that place where we need to be proactive about our data management and only retain that data which is necessary, and move the rest either offline, cold storage. Again, there's a lot of strategies for that. We're not going to get into that. But again,
then we're
proactive
back in the
management.
classification story. Exactly.
Right.
So it's not only about the classification of this high confidential, top secret versus internal and not confidential. We also have to do this kind of confidential, and to spit a little bit into the soup. Raphael was recommending to go deeper into the Purview labels, but currently we don't have a label for Copilot. There is a label missing. I think you're putting pressure on the Microsoft product group to add this Copilot label to information protection. But currently it's not there.
Yeah, that is the top one wish of every company using Copilot today is, I want to have a label to prevent Copilot access to the file. And as a kind of a metadata of a label, and you put it on a label. And for example, for your personal file, we have this example with your earnings and all of this, with the information of your personal file. Put it on it, put a label on it, and it's fine. You don't take care about it. And this, the product group is working on it. So the positive feedback, we are working on it, but technically, and we all three together, we know it's hard. It's not easy to make it realistic that you put a label on it, and it's not working for Copilot. Because, Christian, hopefully you agree me, is when you put a label on it, you have to prevent to work with Microsoft Graph.
Exactly.
So, and that's not easy.
Raphael, could you? But let's switch gears and look what's currently working inside of Purview. So could you please share your screen and show us a little bit where we can find Copilot in the existing version of the Compliance Center of Purview, that we get a little bit of understanding what do we already have and where can we start immediately to improve a compliance for Copilot?
So share my screen. Hopefully you see my second screen and not you see
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Just one thing, could you
Yeah.
could you please zoom in a little bit, like 130,
Yeah,
150%?
I can zoom in it. Like this. It's better, a little bit bigger. What I do is
A bit more, one tick.
wow.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
It's all fun.
Perfect.
The first thing for me is every time in the beginning of the EAP program, it's what not possible to see audit logs of your Copilot interaction. So you don't have the opportunity to see what your users are doing in Copilot. They are typing, they are doing something, they are make misuse, so typing something in that's not allowed, and you don't know it. And often it was a support issue. So thank you very much to the product group that they added the information to the audit logs. And when I go here and I put in Copilot, a little bit prepared now, you only have to type in Copilot, and you see interact with Copilot. So you can search for interaction with Copilot. And the most important question is, and that's not like Delph, it's a little bit like compliance itself, where it will start. So where the Copilot interactions will be stored in Microsoft 365 so that we can search for it. And if you know it, I'm in the Purview portal. So where the information typically stored for Purview? In the Exchange mailbox. So yes, that's Exchange. When you were playing with PowerShell, it's Exchange. So yes, also the interacted with Copilot is stored in the personal mailbox, so that with audit logs or with content search, we can search for these interactions. And this is for me one of the main parts after classificate your data, see what happened in your environment and see which interactions you have with Copilot. And here in the audit logs, you can have a look at it and how long it works and how long it will be stored. This is another topic in the next minutes when we talk about retention. So here, you can click on interactive, and I can start a search. So we can look a little bit later. You can go to unit or set, okay, I put a user in it, like me, my typical testing users, or you can look also for B2B guests or typical users and like search, and then you see and start search.
But it's currently not so interesting. So I did a bit of searches and in advance. I can see date, IP address, user ID, creation type, organization ID, user key. It's not so interesting. So I don't. I cannot see any kind of query. So no content.
That's correct. That's correct, because this is one of the functionality. As an IT administrator or as a governance specialist, you go to Purview and look here at the audit logs, or you look for content search. But the functionality starts, and thank you to Christopher, starts with communication compliance.
Yeah. So Christopher Fiesinger, how we say in Germany. The Americans call it Fiesinger. Fiesinger. He's
and this is one of my. He's a very great guy because he understands at the beginning communication compliance to look at Copilot and Copilot interactions is possible and will be possible. And before we see it in the audit logs, it was possible to create a policy in communication compliance. You see it here. Detect Copilot for Microsoft 365 interactions. And here you see more information than in the audit logs. Here you can have a look at it, what the user is typing, what happens here. You have a reviewer, and you can create a policy, how much percent of the Copilot interaction you want to check or you automatically control. But Ranga, we came here to the biggest challenge. Communication compliance in Germany or in Europe, I think only 10%, 5% of the companies. Christian, how it is in USA? How much companies deploy communication compliance?
I would say that that's generous, that percentage.
Yeah. So And now it is more and more important for Copilot to use communication compliance. Not only for Copilot, Ragnar, we see it is possible with Viva Engage now since last week. We can report a message in Viva Engage now also to communication compliance.
Yeah.
And for the strategy, for me, is totally clear. Communication compliance is communication. What is Copilot interaction? It's communication from Microsoft. And this is a
Exactly.
very
That's
hard
interesting.
learning. It's communication. And when you filter or control the communication, also the Copilot interaction is communication. It's a communication task for Microsoft. You understand one of the things, well, also the most of the companies, that's a second wish, is when we go to the retention part, and everyone will know, okay, you can put a retention policy on Copilot. Yes, that's possible. And when we have a look, and no, I don't want to make a new one. I go to Teams chat, and everyone knows, because that is the second wish of every company, and that's why I go to chat, because here you see it, and I make it a little bit bigger. You see it when you want to delete Copilot interactions and want to delete, for example, that you can't search for it for a longer time, and you want to delete it out of the mail, a copy of this out of the mailbox, you have to delete Teams chats too. So Teams chat and Copilot interaction are connected. And the second wish, after we want an information protection label to prevent Copilot interaction, the second one is to split this. They want delete chats, for example, every 30 days, but Copilot interaction only after 90 days. You understand? That's a question I every time get. So what do you think? Is it a good idea? Should Microsoft do is to split it, or to say, okay, it's communication. You want to lead communication, you have to lead both, or do you have retain both for a time of period?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. It's not so very intuitive to go deeper into it, because you first have to decide which kind of scope do you want with this retention policies. You have the adaptive scope and the other kind of scope. So you first have to be clear on this topic. What was the different names? So you first have to do static. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Static.
I
put static, then correct. I put make it a little.
So you would
slower.
recommend to go for static scopes.
Yeah, it's a little bit a kind of the company you choose, but for a test, for example, it's okay to go for static. That's the default way. For me, it's more adaptive scope, but then you have to create adaptive scope, and not much companies created the scope to use it. So static, use static, and then you see here the Teams chat and Copilot interaction as a part. You can include and exclude users. So often we said, okay, we make a retention policy in productive, and we have a one policy for the IT guys. They want to check and test everything, so they have a longer period. For example, the administrators, out of my perspective, has a longer period. They get their own retention policy for this. And one of the hard learnings is, for chat and also for Copilot interaction, you can't put a label on it. And that is the third wish of the companies. They want to put a label on the Copilot interaction, and one more also on the result. And this is very interesting. In Microsoft Word, it's working, but you can put it with a automatically labeling policy or whatever. So that is very interesting. You create something out of a Copilot, for example, the picture for your next marketing campaign. I want to put the label automatically on it. That's a challenge today. I don't know exactly. It don't works in my tests, but hopefully in the future it will work, that I can put a retention policy on it. Because
currently I see it quite limited, because there are many different ways to enable the static scope. But at the end, the only thing what I can choose for Copilot is only the Teams chat Copilot. The other things like Teams channel messages or Outlook Exchange, there's no Copilot. So the only way where Copilot is Teams chats.
In this moment, yes. Hopefully, and we're all giving this feedback to the product group, we will see a more granular configuration, a more a thing, for example, that you said, okay, also for the app, Copilot app, it's working for your phone and all of this. But at first, yes, we are in the beginning
Thanks,
of
Alex.
Copilot and Purview and Copilot and governance and compliance. It will be
Okay.
more and more hard challenges because, for example, in Europe, we have the question, is Copilot a part of the new AI Act? What we have to do now to bring it to the AI Act in Europe, for the
yes.
European member states. That's very interesting what we do. The same for NIS2, cybersecurity, what we can do more. So currently we have the interactions. We can put a retention label on it. That's for the data privacy guys a very good thing. We can say, okay, this was your message, or we can control it also. Go back to the Purview portal with communication compliance. We can check it. We can control that. Some people putting information, and this is back one short back to the communication compliance part. We can control, for example, we have a this is all of my test policies, but I make also test policy, for example, for my high sensitive customers, that no one can use Copilot or get Copilot they can use, but they don't get a result when they're putting, for example, project Guardians of Galaxy, Guardians of Governments and Guardians of Galaxy part, or of the project of the new drink, which is very special, and we have this new project. You can put it here and said, okay, I uploaded my keyword dictionary, for example, of high sensitive project, that the people can use Copilot to make an extraction or give me the top points of our high sensitive customer project. This is possible today. And we can use also trainable classifier. I use it, but that's now a question. You are more a friend of syntax in SharePoint or trainable classifier. Here you have to use trainable classifier with syntax.
Just a short side note regarding, you were mentioning NIST, and then you mentioned NIST2. So with NIST2, which is the standard from the National Institute of Standard and Technology coming from the US, we have now in NIST2 the first time when the word governance was introduced. So in NIST 1 or NIST 1.1, governance was not playing a part, but now governance has moved into NIST 2. So I think from our governance point of view, NIST 2 is the most important kind of audit, certification, or standard. So here we can expect much more customer interest, and that's what we want. We want to have customer conversations around compliance and governance.
I was actually going to ask. I know that we had like the voice of the customer types of organizations within the Microsoft, is hosting those and holding those with customers and partners. Is there anything going on like that around Copilot and governance? Have either of you seen anything like that or heard Microsoft talking about putting something together?
I have been to a MVP internal PGI group thing where they talked about where they showed us how Microsoft can help with the board tools. I'm not convinced. So they've shown us the SharePoint premium things around SharePoint data governance. I went into the data governance part of SharePoint Admin Center. Said, sorry, I'm not convinced. Then I looked into other admin centers where they showed us, this is our story around governance. Said, listen, I'm still not convinced. So there is so much space left for the governance third-party vendors.
There's no one button click, you are NIST to conform, or you are GDPR ready, or you are AI Act ready. So that's what I get often the question.
Exactly.
Oh, Raphael, we want to use Copilot. Do you have a package, not only the risk assessment and everything? You want a one click to bring my tenant to a Copilot government sense. So installing the retention creating the retention policies, and all of this what's happened today and which will be happened in the future. And yes, is it possible today? no one click. But maybe we can found a partner who can do this.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, with Purview, the story is the strongest. But if you would say, okay, I'm not going into Purview, I don't have any 5 license, I just stay in SharePoint Admin Center. No, customers will definitely be very, very disappointed.
So, and with disappointed, no, not disappointed. More, we want to see a little bit of best practice and what happened. I opened
and sorry to repeat, Eric. Thanks for the Zoom.
Thanks for Zoom. Oh, that's great. Do you see it here? That's nothing with Purview, but the Zoom is not really working for the window.
Okay.
So
please
sorry.
Tell us what you're currently prompting.
Yeah, what I want to show is we are talking about retention policy, and yes, it's communication. We're talking about audit logs and where Copilot interaction will be shown. And one of the demos, and we all have to put our thing and think, good luck, but because it's not working every time is, I'm talking about the results of Copilot and the information where Copilot putting the information to put something together. What I'm testing, and from 50 times it works 10 times, and I'm working with a product group that it works every time is, and I make a very short thing. I said, put a summary of a document. Summary of my document, and I put it with space, and I searching for a document, and I have a document that I browse from the file, putting together all the highlights of, it works great. The highlights of Ignite last year, and something works wrong. This is what I said. Often it don't works really great, so I have to look.
We already found out that you have to be very patient and resilient when working with Copilot. That's one of the key learnings.
And I go to my content and go to my to have a look for the exact file name. You see, I'm testing a lot, like you, Ragnar, and also Christian. You're testing a lot. I want to this document here, and that's okay that I can open it. I created a summary of the last Ignite. Yes, put in more. Log in and putting a summary of the Microsoft Ignite highlights and of the Purview highlights of Microsoft Ignite last year. And what I do is, and thank you for Microsoft that they deployed labels, and I help a little bit that we have a label confidential for all employees on it. So it is one of the things what I said, what is the main part? Classify your data. So I have classified this file as confidential, and it's encrypted. And it's very interesting when I go back to new document, I said, okay, put summary of Microsoft, hopefully it works, of Purview. And normally, it works. When I click here and I said, okay, I do nothing. I only type it in, and you see here it's very maybe Bishop. No. We make a screenshot. You see here draft with Copilot, and you see it's small, but you see there's a shield with a lock. So you see the file which I want to have a summary has a label, and it is encrypted. So you see the same information when you go on sensitive labels and you put, or you go here. No, it's only working in the document. You see it here. It's confidential, and it's, I can't put it not bigger, but confidential for all employees. So it's encrypted and it's confidential. And you see here, yes, when the Copilot knows that the document I refer to is also encrypted and protected. And when I go to create, and maybe it works, something works wrong. And this is what I mean. Not every time is working. Hopefully it works. We try it one more time. The document is public in this moment. And normally when I go here and click create and it's working, dismissed, I'm giving feedback so much, then it will be create text and the document will be labeled automatically. So that is the scenario I'm in the beginning said that was also a wish of the most of the companies, that the result is also putting automatically with the label. So no, it's not. Yeah, you can't do it automatically with trainable classifier, for example. Yes, if it's in the same library and the same structure of the document, yes, that's also possible. But here, normally, and this is what I said, it's not working every time. And now it's not working. Put it a third time. No, it's not working. But when it put my summary of my document, and the document is high confidential, normally the document which is public will automatically label in the same label where we have the starting document. So as a confidential label is encrypted, so the result is also encrypted. But
if you're summarizing, hey Raphael, if you're summarizing two different documents that have two levels of classification, does it automatically then, with that end result, does it classify at the higher standard?
We can test it. I can say yes, but let's test it. Copilot test and generate. Oh, Christian, now it's working. Is it a workaround? Is it a workaround that is working? We will see. Out of my tests, and I tested it around 250 times, yes, it used of the highest label, and you see it here, the result. I have the documents, the Microsoft Purview, Microsoft Ignite summary, or the highlights, and I have Copilot test document without a label. And now we see, thank you very much, Christian, now it's working. So putting a second document into the prompt.
It was too easy of a question for Copilot.
Easy. Yeah, it was too easy.
We wanted to be challenged.
Only one document, So it's confidential, all employees. So it takes the highest label with the highest document, and that is fine for me. It's a little bit like with attachment and emails. Yes, you can configure it today, but I use it every time when you put a document with the highest label into an email, and the email is, for example, public. The email will be labeled and will be encrypted too. So it's a little bit of the same principle we will see here for summary. And very interesting, the summary is longer than our first document, but that's Copilot.
Starting to hallucinate. Raphael, when we talk about this meta level, do you have more examples how we can use Copilot to find out issues around compliance? That we ask Copilot, hey, listen, please tell us all the sensitive documents with confidential data, confidential namings, but they have no sensitivity labels attached, to really find out where do we see missing gaps. How well does Copilot work on this meta level?
This was one of the examples. You have a lot of these examples. What I find also in this part is when you go, for example, to the M365 Copilot or to the main one. You see here my Copilot chats, my history on the right side. This is also this history which I can see also in the tenant level in the audit logs, for example, or with communication compliance better. You can put here some things. And what I learned is not every Copilot you get the same information, and not every Copilot brings you to the result you want, also in connection with Purview. That is very interesting. For example, in this Copilot, you want to create a PowerPoint presentation of a labeled, high sensitive labeled document, and want to create a presentation out of the document. One of the typical Copilot things. This Copilot will say, no, it's not possible. I can't create a presentation. When I go to PowerPoint and put it the same prompt there, it creates me a PowerPoint presentation and puts the label with it. So,
oh my god,
interesting. Is that just is that just architecturally a weakness in the way the technology works today? Is that a planned separation between this? Because I would think logically, if I'm asking Copilot, if I'm over an M365 Copilot, just as part of my prompt here in this view, if I'm asking for a PowerPoint question, that it would move me over into that environment.
Christian, that is what ChatGPT do.
Right.
Yeah, ChatGPT can do this. And this was also a question to the PG, and also why this is not my centralized Copilot, where I can do everything. Create me a picture, create me a presentation, put me into the right program, make a connection. No, it's not working. Hopefully, this is a wish, and Microsoft is here, this postcard. Please make it. this Copilot to our centralized Copilot tool, because it's confusing for the people, not only in connection with Purview for using Copilot. And when I see and when we have to look at the metadata, and Ragnar, for you, and look a little bit on my watch, you see here Brian Hart is also one of our MVP colleagues and friends. And what I see here is what's new about. And what's new about is a little bit like, give me all information of the secret project. Make me a summary of a secret information, like the Purview news of Ignite, as an example. This is very interesting, that when I put this and do this, and I don't have access to his information, it will generate. And what to put it? Nothing. So at the end, yes, this is working, and it gives me the information. Okay, if I want to look at a person or want to control, make an audit prompt about a person in my tenant, and I don't have access to his email chats, or we don't have a file together, and I ask him, no, we don't have a file shared together. So this is a good example. We see, okay, this is working. So the other part of it's not working, but this is working. And this is great that is working, that you can't see, for example, give me Christian, Buckley, all information, and we can do the same, because we don't share also no document in this tenant, but we have the same result. Okay, we don't get information, but sometimes I get information.
Yeah.
Because it's a dev part, Ragnar. We are in the same team where we have documents together.
I've also seen some ugly stuff where I was creating a case where I was adding a Purview label on top of it, and then he said, "Oh no!" And then I was asking to get some information. No, sorry, it's information protected. I cannot show you. And then I asked a little bit around, like, okay, which URL I should not see, and then he was showing me the URL. So it's very, very easy to
manipulate it, or just or try again, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and you can try it more and more again and again. But it is for us as a governance and compliance view on Copilot. It's very, very interesting how we control the access of Copilot to the file. And you see, we can control it with a label. We can control it with access rights to his mailbox, to the chat, to email, for example. So that's why we wish a label for prevent Copilot action. And on the other side, you have more and more best practices. What are best practices? Labeling. Okay. Best practices, we also have delete. Delete information. When you delete the file, Copilot can't make a summary of the file. Very easy. The easiest way, delete. And the other part is, and I tested it, you can put your SharePoint library, and that SharePoint library you can't search. So put your SharePoint library out of the search index and don't get access to Microsoft Graph. We are search and we are indexing. So yes, it's a disadvantage that you can't search really great in this library, but, and this is very interesting, you can prevent Copilot with it. So when you have a SharePoint library, for example, with all of your personal files and cases with payment and all of this, you can put, or you can prevent these document library and this SharePoint site from working with Copilot with the configuration of the SharePoint site. So this is what I'm wishing. Put this configuration of a SharePoint site into a container label, to an information protection preview container label. Put it as a part of conditional access, and then it's working. Because the conditional access documents and information, and we hopefully, and yes, we will share the link to Zero Trust of Copilot. It's not a part of it. So we will see it. And when you're talking what is not working on what is not working with Copilot, I get the question yesterday, and it was very interesting. We all know that this information I don't get, but the information are there. We have it. Semantic index, and we have the document DB, we have Microsoft Graph in the background. Okay, so the information about Brian Hart, about Brian, about Christian or Ragnar is here, I don't have access to it, but the information is there. So it is very, very interesting. I got the question, and it was a good question. How can I delete the information out of the semantic cache or out of the document DB? And I said, good question. Can we delete the information out of the document DB in the background, out of the
I haven't seen a
cache
craft
in the
API
background?
call here. And also, I've never seen a user interface.
What I said
I would say no.
from Scott, let's ask Copilot. Can I delete information out of the semantic cache?
Let's see if you can make the Bock zum Gärtner machen.
Yeah. Let's
To talk about headers again.
I learned from a lot of Microsoft guys. When I ask, for example, for a typical PowerShell script, ask Copilot in GitHub, you get the script. Okay. So at first I asked Copilot and then the Microsoft product team. But here you see, and the answer, yes, may be incorrect. But when we see here, no, it's not possible to delete information from semantic cache. Semantic cache is a system-managed cache that stores data used by Microsoft Search to improve the relevant performance of search results. The data is the cache is managed by the system, cannot be deleted by the user. It is anything else we need to do. So, is it correct? Yes, it's correct. So, asking Copilot to do something out of what you can do with government, yes, ask Copilot. So that's for me also a learning. Yes, we can ask Copilot because the most of the Microsoft document, the MS Learn library and everything is a part of Copilot. So you can ask in this part your Copilot, which data is stored? Can I delete it? No, I can't delete it. But there is and go for the first time. There is a solution where you can delete data out of semantic cache. What do you think? There is a solution. A very easy one.
Oh, now I'm curious.
Delete the file.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
When you don't want the file into the semantic cache, delete it out of your SharePoint or OneDrive library. Put it on a NAS, put it on a USB drive. Don't put it in email. No, it's not working. Yes, we have access to the attachments of the email. So delete it out of the SharePoint and it's deleted out of semantic cache. Very easy.
And then from the compliance point, everybody should be happy because we have fulfilled the right to be forgotten in GDPR.
Correct.
So this is correct. Yeah. So
Correct.
that's a compliant way of solving it.
So for me, and I got this feedback also from Microsoft, all of these questions I put here, and this is a little bit strange, the customer asking the Microsoft support. And yes, before ask the Microsoft support, ask Copilot. Copilot knows a lot. Yes, Copilot knows a lot. So for example here, what data is stored? Yes, it's stored as user interactions by services, including search queries and clicks. So Delve search Copilot. The same for, can I have access to the data? No. The user, the admins, no. Don't have access. The IT security team of the company, of the concert, want access to the cache data. No, don't get access. So it's a cache that's often we have to explain from Delve to Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph is not storing any data. The semantic cache, yes, it stores a little bit of data, but not for whole time. It's like your cache on your PC. And this is very, very interesting. Also for the data privacy officer, they said, okay, it's stored in this time for Microsoft search results. So for everyone, when you talk about Copilot governance, talk about search governance. And that's it. Delete the file, prevent the file. It's
that's a
all
great
Microsoft Search. It's Microsoft Search. When you have access via Search, you have access via Copilot.
That's what goes back, and I mean, hopefully, we'll see more and more organizations, taking the time to have these conversations. One, going back, I mean, where we started the conversation. I know we've just got a couple minutes left too, as well. But as we started the conversation, saying that you may not always be aware of what policies are in place to have visibility of the content. I mean, you can experiment and look at the sensitive information. You should be able to see right away. Open up those files. how it's being classified, how it's being tracked within the system. If you don't see the right labels, there's your first indication that, hey, we've got work to do to clean this up. The other side of that is to also understand, what governance guardrails need to be in place for your organization and for your data for this project. That should be a proactive conversation that's happening. We're going to start this new project. All right, let's talk about the classification of data, the management around this project. It's more sensitive, it's internal, it's external. What are the rules that are in place? And to make sure that things are set up beforehand. And then your data management, it may be as simple as deleting the files or moving them onto a system that is not being tracked, that is not accessible to the tools. But again, having those proactive conversations up front is the key to all of this. It's you can't just set the rules, set the policies up front for everything default. The world doesn't work like that. New content, new users, business rules change. So you need to be on a regular basis having these conversations and testing, auditing the system to make sure that you're compliant.
Yeah. Raphael,
So,
to close
homework.
up here, did we miss anything regarding the Purview side? Is there everything what we've shown where Purview can track and trace Copilot? Anything important we have left?
Everything important. It's relatively new, and you see, we can ask Copilot now, and let's make Copilot our podcast. No, let's have a look and go back to the Purview Center. We talked about audit logs, content search, a little bit about communication compliance, and for me, and this is also interesting when we have communication compliance, it's also working with insider risk. And I go to policies. Let's check. Well, oh, you're not in the role. That's very interesting. I have the role. Okay. Create a policy. Okay. I don't have the role. I think this is a bug.
Yeah, roles are very important. I also have seen it in communication compliance.
Yeah, it works. But here, you see, is it possible to search currently? Do you see any Copilot violation interactions in this moment? No.
Not really.
So not really. It will come in the future. I see some of the roadmaps, which is public now. We will see that, for example, you have a look for Copilot interactions that are searching for sensitive information. That's a little bit of data thieves, what I see, what we can prevent with labeling. But I want to know if the people are searching for this. I'm using today the audit logs and communication compliance, but at the end you can use it also for insider risk. So at the end, Microsoft 365 and Purview loves Copilot interactions as a communication. Okay. And what we are missing, and that is the last part, and that's too long to show it now, the security Copilot is also a part of Purview. And with security Copilot, you can summarize your communication compliance results to the top 5, for example. That's what
Christian, we need to write down here. We need a separate show around
for
security Copilot.
Yeah,
we do.
Security Copilot in government for governments and Purview. This is very interesting. Today, it's only a summarizing feature in Security Copilot, but in the future, so hopefully after MVP Summit in April, we will see more functionality. And then, yes, it's a great topic for next podcast about how Security Copilot helps us for governments and Purview.
Currently, I don't have access. I have applied for access, but I don't have access. What about you, Raphael? Do you already have?
Yes.
Secure
I have
under your
access.
fingers?
So, yeah, it's only summarizing. So currently in Purview, only summarizing things. So it's not more. It's but for 50,000, the customer can book. It's a lot of money. It's
a very,
cheaper
very
than
hefty price
M365,
for the paid private preview. 50, 60.
Yeah, that's okay. You can test it, but currently it's only summarizing. So when it comes to public and GA, hopefully April,
Yeah.
May, June, it's a great topic for have a look how Copilot helps us for governments. And this is for me more interesting, that hopefully Copilot gives us information how we can classify our data, for example. That can be a good idea. Not syntax, not trainable. Let Copilot helps us, for example, to giving hints for the users, not only the DLP hints, giving information how you can trust or how you can classify your document, how you can work. Can you delete this document, for example? When Copilot, this is what my feature wish is. The Copilot, when I'm working at a document, I said, okay, the Copilot says, oh, Raphael, you have a document. It's 1 year old, but with the same content. Want to have a look at the old document I don't remember? And said, okay, you have 10 copies of this document in your SharePoint library. Please have a look. Here's your copy. Want to work with your newest copy of your document.
Or to identify one step before that, identify that content that hasn't been classified. So if you have two versions, one has been properly classified, it's the newer version, but to say, hey, you have this older version, here's the differences, it's not properly classified.
And then also recommend to delete the older version which are not needed anymore, which are outdated. Right. And then you save time, Raphael, in your deletion week.
We save time and we help the users because, and we all know this, governance, compliance, data privacy, it's not the favorite thing of every user. So it must be working. It's better? Okay, for us, it's a favorite, better thing ever. But hopefully, and our attendees will agree, when you discuss with someone compliance, data privacy, data governance, it's not the topic everyone wants to hear. So back to my beginning. Yes, data governance save money because you delete data. And then with saving money, you get the point that the people say, oh, saving money, okay, give me some information. For example, please Copilot, give me all large files in SharePoint that we can delete, or the copy of large files. You don't need big PowerShell scripts. Let Copilot do this because he has access. He has access with the Microsoft Graph. But today, it's not working. So Copilot to help Purview and Data Governance, it's only possible.
Hallo auch, viele Grüße von uns, von den
Oh, sorry.
All fine. So, you know what I mean? So, something homework for Microsoft, but I think currently a little bit more homework for the companies who deployed Copilot. And hopefully all of you will agree me, data governance is a part of deploying Copilot, not switching it on. Switching it on when you have the information, when you see Microsoft Search, what it's doing, what the user has access for. So I'm using SharePoint Admin Center Ragnar or your PowerShell script to see which access has the user, for which access to which files. For example, to the high sensitive files, maybe. So the access concepts in a company is often a historical access concept when we have
and it's designed well, but after a few weeks, month, it's broken up. People click on share and then it's over.
Then it's over. So very, very.
That's why we need compliance and governance, because sharing is everywhere. The button is visible. Too easy. Raphael, thanks so much here for being with you. We really enjoyed it. We learned a lot. Great recommendations. Also, thanks here for getting us very, very deep into crazy stuff like semantic cache, semantic index cache. So that was a wonderful show.
Thank you very much.
And thanks everybody for watching. I know we have so again, I believe the plan is for the next episodes. So in March for episode 3, we should have Sue Hanley. For episode 4, Erica Tully. So maybe we'll come back, Raphael. We'll talk again. Maybe we'll know more in May around security and talk about that. So
exactly. Super.
Well, thanks everybody.
Thanks everyone for joining, for asking questions. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Keep on focusing on compliance and Copilot.
Bye.
Bye.